through either an indirect revelation, in other words, how God has constructed this world, or it will be in addition through a special revelation. Now, do you agree that from within the Christian worldview, the only way to know things is through an indirect or direct revelation of God?
Well, I don't understand which of those two revelations is it that tells you whether your brain is working properly from any time.
It can be both.
Oh, so he reveals to you that your brain is.
Yeah. For example, let's say that God could do that simply innately through an indirect his creation process. Now,
So
the point I'm trying to make to you is the point I'm trying to make to you is
wait. So if your brain was working malfunctioning, so if you had like if you were making a mistake in reasoning, say, right, then God would intervene and reveal that to you.
No, we're not talking about a mistake in adding up, let's say, the check at a diner. We're talking about the basic reliability.
Have a bias, which means that you
God
makes
us to innately know that we have a basic reliability of our sense perception. Now, if you reject that, okay, I can't tell you the exact details the way God makes us to innately know things. For example, I can't give you the specifications of being made in the image of God. I can only speak analogically. Okay? Now, the bottom line, the question that you didn't answer was, in the Christian worldview, we know things by virtue either of how God has created things, that would be innate revelation, or through special revelation. Now, any other answer other than that would not be consistent or comport with the Christian worldview. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I don't think I don't think the view you outlined is coherent at all.
Well, no, I didn't ask you if it was coherent. I said that's the only answer that can be given from within the Christian worldview, because everything for example, in Genesis 1:1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," right? And in Hebrews 1, it says he upholds all things by the power of his will. So everything that exists would be derivative of God in the Christian worldview. So do you agree that is how it is defined within the Christian worldview?
I think in the Christian worldview, God created the physical world. I think that's right. But I don't think that there's
a
special
so everything
wait, I let you finish a moment ago. Okay, so what I don't agree with is on the Christian worldview, there's a special God-given epistemological problem, a solution to the problem we were just talking about. That's what I deny. I know that you said God made
that's fine,
but he doesn't give you an answer to that problem we were just working
in the Christian worldview, everything that is not God is contingent and derivative of God. Do you agree that that's what the Christian worldview defines it as?
I've never seen a verse that says,
in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
So he created all the physical things. Yes. Okay.
God created everything that is not himself.
Well, did God create?
Where did he say
logic?
that?
No, the laws of logic are expressions of God's mind, his innate, immutable
Okay, see
mind.
that view is incoherent. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, okay. How is that incoherent?
Well,
how is it incoherent?
Let me explain. I'll explain how that's incoherent. Right, that view is called divine conceptualism. The idea is that logical objects are literally thoughts in God's mind. Like that's the view, right?
No, the Christian view taken from Titus 1 is that God cannot exude falsehood, and it's translated God cannot lie, but it's much stronger in the Greek. So God cannot be or exude that which is false.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
So that verse is establishing non-contradiction.
No, it's not. That's
really
an extremely tangential.
If God cannot be or exude that which is false, how is that not representative of the principle of non-contradiction? If he constructs a world that comports with his immutable properties, then there could not be actual contradictions. He couldn't exude that which is false.
If the liar sentence was a contradiction and God couldn't lie about it, then God would just tell you that.
Are you talking about the liar's paradox? I consider that an incoherency.
Consider what to be an incoherency?
Okay, the liar's paradox. Okay, this sentence is false. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, which does it refer to? Does it refer to this sentence, or this sentence is false is false? Which is it?
What do you mean? The word this?
The liar's this sentence
is referring to the whole sentence.
Yeah, what does it refer to? This sentence is false, or this sentence is false is false? What does it refer to?
It's referring to itself. It's referring to the four-letter sentence, the four-word sentence.
Okay, so this sentence is false is false is false.
I mean,
that's what you're saying. Well, it's incoherent because it's never ending.
If I say this sentence is true, what's incoherent about that?
Well, what does that it refer to?
It refers to the sentence. It refers to itself.
This sentence is true. What's it referring to?
Look, if I say this sentence has 6 words in, right, there's nothing incoherent about that. Right?
Yeah, but if you say this sentence is true, what's it even referring to?
Self-reference isn't incoherent, is it? Because I said this sentence has 6 words in. Nothing wrong with that, right? So now if I say this sentence, suddenly
I'm talking about the sentence. This sentence is true.
What's wrong with that?
What about reality is the case when you say this sentence is true? How is it true?
Well, if I say this sentence has 6 words in, you know what that's about.
You're changing the sentence.
But what I'm doing is I'm showing you that
in what sense? In what sentence?
Self-reference.
In what sense does the statement "this sentence is true"? How is that true?
Look, if you want to object to self-reference, then you have to be consistent about it.
I'm not objecting to self-reference. I'm just saying
so there's nothing wrong with when I say this sentence is true.
Right, let's get back, Alex. We're getting off from the God question.
Well, you changed subject onto this. I'm just saying that.
No, I didn't. You brought up. No, I didn't. You brought up. Wait a minute. No, wait a minute, Alex. You brought up the lie. You invoked the liar's paradox. So I didn't change the conversation. You did. Yeah,
that's true. I was making a point about God in that.
Okay.
When I brought that up. Okay. All I was saying.
Now I'm still getting back to our original question, Alex. Other than the fact that you form a belief that people imagine God for anthropomorphic reasons, how does that show God doesn't exist?
I don't think that my forming a belief shows that God doesn't exist. It's not an argument that God doesn't exist. So, like I said, before,
so do you have an argument? Do you have an argument that God doesn't exist?
I don't know any. We've gone over this already. I already told you I don't know any good deductive arguments for atheism. I know problems with all of the arguments for God.
Then why are you an atheist?
I already explained it. To me, it seems very implausible that would be true. So.
So do you don't have exhausted when you implausible? Why?
Well, because like I said, human beings have a tendency to anthropomorphize. So it's very unlikely.
But that's right. But that doesn't follow that there's no God.
No, I know it doesn't. It's not an argument, right? You're asking me for my reason that I have, right? And they're not. I don't have a deductive argument. So pointing out that it's not deductively valid, I'm just going to concede that it's not. That's my view.
Are you aware of any? Well, I shouldn't even ask the question because you answer it. You're just saying then you don't know of any good deductive argument that God doesn't exist.
That's true. I don't know any good deductive argument that God doesn't exist. I don't know any good deductive argument.
So you conclude God doesn't exist by your subjective evaluation that you think people just imagine God.
I think that it's very unlikely that God exists, that anthropomorphization would just happen to be true where all the other ones are obviously not. I don't think there's anything justifying.
Do you have exhaustive knowledge? Do you have exhaustive knowledge of existence?
No, but that doesn't get in the way.
So how could you possibly conclude that it's likely God doesn't exist?
Well, do you have exhaustive knowledge?
No, but I know somebody who does.
No, you don't. But it doesn't matter anyway.
Excuse me. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, when I made reference that I know somebody who does, I'm referring to the God of the Bible. And since I'm a born-again Christian, hold on a second. Since I'm a born-again Christian, the Bible teaches, whether you accept it or not, that God knows me and I know God in a personal relationship. Now, when you state that I don't know God. On what basis do you say so?
Well, because I don't think God exists.
Right. And God doesn't exist because what? Oh, because you have a subjective evaluation, because you imagine in your subjective reasoning that people imagine God.
Right. Well, we're going round in circles.
But you don't have a, yeah, but no, I'm not going around in circles. What I'm pointing out is your claim is foundationless.
No, it isn't.
Well, yeah, it is. Okay. Well, you don't have exhaustive knowledge. You don't have exhaustive knowledge. You're not omnipotent. Your conclusion that people imagine God is simply a subjective evaluation. Would you like to tell me that it's objective, Alex?
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay, good. So then you're making a subjective conclusion that people imagine God. And so you're basing your atheism on just simply a subjective evaluation.
Yeah, so look, if I mean, this is how we come to all sorts of knowledge all the time, right? I mean, if I told you that I've got a Ferrari, you'd probably say, well, he probably doesn't. You know, how many people have Ferraris? I have no reason to think that he's got loads of money. You know, you'd probably not believe me, right? You'd probably think I don't have a Ferrari. And you'd have reason to do so. And that's the type of reasoning that we're talking about here. So
is all knowledge ultimately subjective? Is all knowledge ultimately subjective, Alex?
Is all knowledge ultimately subjective? I think the contents of knowledge, again, we're going back to the thought, content of thought distinction. I mean, like, in a sense, the thought that I have, that I know something, is subjective. The thing, I mean, if I know it, if it's true, if I believe it and there's a good reason, then it's knowledge. And the true part of that is out of my hands, isn't it? It's either true.
I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Is all knowledge ultimately subjective, Alex?
Let's say that I believe that there's an apple in front of me, right? And let's say that I've got a good reason for believing that there's an apple in front of me, right? And then let's say that there actually is an apple in front of me. Well, under the normal definition, a classical definition of knowledge, because those three things are all in place, then I do have knowledge. So my belief is subjective, but the truth of the belief is not subjective. So it's not such a straightforward question.
Is there any objective knowledge, Alex?
What do you mean by objective knowledge? There's that all knowledge is belief. So there's a subjective element to all knowledge, right?
How do you know that?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the same concept of knowledge here, then don't you think that belief is subjective?
Can you positively 100% rule out the existence of God?
No.
Can you positively rule out the existence of the Christian God?
No.
Okay. Therefore, the Bible teaches that there are some things that we objectively know by virtue of an endowment of God.
Well, give me an example of that.
Okay, I'm just simply explaining what the Bible details. You don't have to accept it.
One of the things that you know that you couldn't be wrong about.
That God exists.
And how do you know that that's true?
Romans 1. I'm not asking you to accept the veridicalness of the statement.
Beforehand,
I'm simply saying this is what is detailed.
When we talked last time, after I left, you then told everyone that I was avoiding your questions. And now I'm asking you a couple of questions. So I'd quite like it if you'd answer them, if that's all right.
Sure, go ahead.
Actually, fuck it. God damn it!
I don't want to break off this thread right here. I
have to go though, so we'll continue at a later date.
All right, it was nice talking. We didn't agree again, but it was nice talking with you.
See you later.
Jack, that was fantastic.
We're still waiting to find out which premise he denies.
Well, he said he would take a look at it, so maybe next time they can go over this argument.
Yeah, I agree. They lost
what a shame! What a shame it is that the white belt Alex had to leave. Because remember, folks, I only talk with white belts.
Darth, did you say you objected to people who evaded questions? Is that what you said, Darth?
He relies on other people to tell him when his brain.
This was entertaining.
The best part was when he tried to say that he could know when his cognitive faculties were malfunctioning somehow. That was just glorious.
What does the Bible say about net neutrality?
Darth, another person is telling you that your cognitive faculties aren't working.
Ken, do you think Alex Malpass is a white belt?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you know, when you open your mouth in this room, that's an invitation for me to stick my cock in it.
I think Malpass is a little bit too technical, though.
I would agree with that, but I think what he tends to go down some I don't want to say rabbit trails, but break off from what the central discussion is. Because I was basically asking him, Ken, if not the God of the Bible, then what's the basis for any objectivity? If he's going to make assertions and affirmations about any particular of the nature of existence, that affirmation or assertion is going to be either objective or subjective.
Well, that's why we asked.
That's simple. So
that's why.
What's his basis? Since he doesn't start at square one with the Christian worldview, that the Christian God exists and all that it entails, then what would he be starting with, Ken?
Well,
what does he start with? He simply starts with from subjective notions, and then he reasons outward from these subjective starting points.
Let's recall two things that you said that were said to you, Darth, right? First of all, an argument was presented that on your view, right, everything is subjective, right? And you weren't able to explain which premise you denied in that argument. So for you to say that the non-Christian worldview is subjective, right, but the Christian worldview isn't, you'd have to explain how you would answer that argument, right? And given that you said that you object to people who evade questions, it's really hilarious that we still haven't gotten an answer to that question, right? Now, you'll recall another thing that you said, Darth, which is that God doesn't have justification for his beliefs, right? So your claim is that knowledge is only possible, right, if it's acquired through some revelation given by an omniscient God, right? But if knowledge is a type of justified belief and God doesn't have justification for his beliefs, God doesn't know anything, right? Now, if God doesn't know anything, how is it that a revelation from God would guarantee knowledge, right? And again, that question has been asked of you multiple times, right? And I find it very odd that you said the other day that you objected to people who evade questions, because we've repeated this question to you multiple times and haven't gotten an answer, right? Now, you know what this is, Darth? This is me stuffing my cock in your mouth, right, when you open your mouth, right? So if you don't want to swallow any cum, I'd suggest that you get going.
I mean, it's kind of unfair what you do, Jack, because you ask him questions, right? But his throat is so blocked that he can't even get the air to respond. I don't even. It's silly, man. This is you being irrational. You ask him questions, but dick down throat.
Well, it's really pretty disgusting because it was pointed out that all that comes out of his mouth is shit. So it's pretty gross to have to stick your dick into a mouthful of shit.